an amazing game last night, or another amazing comeback by the Indiana Pacers, knocking off the winning shot at the end of regulation. It ended up sending the game to overtime. He does the choke sign. This is all part of what I believe, and we had this kind of debate and discussion this morning. I believe these NBA playoffs have been amazing. That's not saying every game, that's not saying every series, but these NBA playoffs have had enough signature moments and have elevated enough young stars like Tyrese Halliburton. This thing has been a success and has me kind of hopeful for the post-LeBron James era. Let's just start with, did the New York Knicks choke, or is there something about Tyrese Halliburton, the Indiana Pacers, and Rick Carlisle that allows them to pull off these amazing comebacks?
Well, Jason, the answer is yes to both those questions. Look, the Pacers, the cardiac Pacers just do this. They come back from these seemingly insurmountable deficits. They've done it throughout the season. I believe they have 4 wins when they're down by 7 points or more in the final minute of the game. That simply just doesn't happen in the NBA. But with that said, look, there's 2 sides to every story, 2 sides to every coin. Just a matter of perspective, I suppose. But you know what? Where you say tomato, I say tomato. You say great comeback, I say epic and unimaginable choke job by the New York Knicks. I went on a live stream last night right after the game, so I didn't have any time to check it out or look into any research, but I just proclaimed on the live stream off the top of my head that no team had ever blown this size of a lead with that amount of time in NBA history. And so they hadn't, at least going back where we have tracking data available when they started detailed play-by-play, keeping track of that. And since 97, 98, Jason, no team had ever blown this size of a lead with that amount of time. Teams were 994-0 going into last night with at least a 14-point lead with 2 minutes and 40 seconds or less to go in the fourth quarter. Jason, that's what we're talking about here. The score was 119-105 with 2:40 left. This is absolute ridiculousness. I'll turn it back over to you, but I equate everything to movies. I know it doesn't really come across necessarily in our discussions, but in the movie Tombstone, when Johnny Ringo has, Wyatt and company pinned down in this crossfire shootout, and Wyatt just starts walking through the water and blazes down 10 guys, and they're discussing it afterwards, and the question is posed, have you ever seen anything like that? And the answer is, hell, I've never even heard of anything like that. That was what I was feeling watching that game last night. An unbelievable gag by the New York Knicks. I don't know how they overcome this for the series.
Oh, you think there will be lingering after effects to this? You think this perhaps cost them the series?
100%, Jason. Not all losses are created equal. Some losses count for more than one. Look, the Knicks, I thought they would win in 7 going into this series. I've completely flipped that now. I've got the Pacers in 6. Look, you're a 4.5-point favorite at home in game 1 with, again, a 14-point lead with 2 minutes and 40 seconds remaining in that game. You have to close that out. This franchise hasn't been in the NBA Finals this century. The last time they appeared was that strike-shortened 1999 season when they lost to the Spurs. Jason, they haven't won a championship since 1973. Look, this is unbelievable. You have to close that deal out. If they literally just did nothing from the 2:40 mark on, if they just inbounded the ball, passed it around, and took dead ball turnover, shot clock violations every possession from the 2:40 on, just got the ball in clean and made their free throws, they would have won the game. There is no way, there is a 0% chance the Pacers could have won that game with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left in the fourth quarter. No way they could have won. The only way was if the Knicks lost. And so they did in epic fashion, in mind boggling fashion, Jason. The biggest choke I've ever seen or even heard of in my entire lifetime on an NBA court.
It's just one game, and why wouldn't the argument be, hey, we dominated them except for the last 3 minutes of the game. We'll do it again, and we'll just close out the last 3 minutes.
Well, look, they didn't dominate them. This was a close game throughout. The Pacers actually controlled it through much of the first half. And then, look, early in the fourth quarter, this was a 2-point game. Jalen Brunson picked up his 5th foul, went to the bench, and just the Knicks went on this crazy run, a 14-0 run when Brunson went to the bench with that 5th foul early in the fourth, taking a 2-point lead to a 16-point lead. And then, look, that not only was it, Jason, 14-point lead with 2 minutes and 40 seconds left, it was a 9-point lead with like a minute to go. There's just no way you can lose this game. These are two closely touted teams. I think they're evenly matched teams by and large. You can't just give away a game like this. Look what happened in that Thunder Nuggets series. The Thunder exponentially better than the Nuggets. Exponentially better. They blew a big game in game 1 at home. They were up 11 with 2.5 minutes to go. The Nuggets came back amid a multitude of Thunder errors, and they basically just gave the game to the Nuggets. That series, Jason, should have been a sweep or 5 at most. And the Nuggets, who were substantially outgunned, got it all the way into a 7th game because of the ramifications stemming from that game 1. Now look at what's going to happen with two evenly matched teams. People say all the time in dismissive tones, like they're like, oh, it's just one game. It's just game 1. I'm a firm believer. You cannot win a series in game 1, but you can lose it. And blowing that game at home now, oh my goodness, the immense level of pressure that is going to be on the Knicks they just have less than 48 hours to get over this. Game 2 Friday night. I mean, the Pacers are going to be playing with house money, loose as hell, and the Knicks had better get that game or the series is going to be swiftly over.
So my takeaway from these playoffs, and it's built a little bit around Tyrese Halliburton, he is now a star, borderline superstar. He's now the Reggie Miller of his era, and he's someone that you can build, you can promote, drive TV ratings with to some degree. Now, he's not LeBron, but the future to me is starting to look brighter for the NBA in the post-LeBron James era. Rivalries seem to be back in terms of the Knicks, Pacers, and there seems to be talk about teams and individual stars that are placed around the league. It's kind of almost like maybe the super team era is coming to an end because maybe people would rather be Tyrese Halliburton, a superstar in his home in one city, smaller market, but he's dominant. But are you as optimistic and hopeful as I am about what's transpiring in these playoffs and what it's setting up for in the future in the NBA?
Absolutely. These playoffs have been great. It's a bunch of teams. Now, the Thunder, I speculated preseason, were going to become a dynasty, beginning with the championship run this season. And I think they are set up to be dynastic over the next half decade or so. And I think after they cleared that hurdle, we just mentioned that series against the Nuggets, that was their one big test. I think they're probably going to dominate the rest of these playoffs. But still, even in and of that, the Thunder are a team. They were just built properly. They weren't, bought or paid for. They weren't, just 2 or 3 big stars joining up. So what we have here in these 4 remaining, teams are actual teams. Yes, all 4 have star marquee players, but they're deep. They're well built. A lot of these guys, these remaining teams, are defensively oriented. Scoring is down by about 7 points per game from the regular season into the playoffs because players are competing on that side of the ball too now all of a sudden. And we just have this great wealth of young talent and guys that look like they actually do want to compete, not just join forces with each other and destroy the competitive balance of the NBA. So I think, yes, hopefully, we just had a little blip on the overall, scale of history of the NBA